This is a thriller best avoided if your brain isn't ready to be twisted hard. In just 99 minutes, this film delivers jaw-dropping plot twists every 2 minutes. It all begins when a married woman stumbles upon two completely different wedding photos of herself. That shocking discovery makes her question everything, especially whether the man she shared a bed with for 20 years might actually be a total imposter. But the truth? It'll completely shatter your worldview. The story kicks off with a bang. One day, Soo-jin steps out for a walk and bumps into a little girl in the elevator. She bends down to greet the sweet-looking child, but the second their eyes meet, strange visions flood her mind. At first, Soo-jin chalks it up to stress, a weird hallucination of the girl in danger, but when she's about to cross the street, the exact scene from her vision begins to play out in front of her eyes. Her heart races. Is this nightmare becoming real? Without thinking, Soo-jin leaps into traffic to save the girl, risking her own life. Thankfully, her husband Ji-hoon grabs her just in time, and the truck screeches to a halt inches away. That night, Soo-jin can't even begin to explain to Ji-hoon what happened, thinking it might have been a fluke. She's stunned when she sees the same girl again the next day. Concerned, she approaches her, but the girl stays icy and distant. As soon as the child darts out of the elevator, another eerie vision hits Soo-jin. Now she's terrified it'll happen again. She urgently calls Ji-hoon for help, but before she can even finish the sentence, the vision has already come true. After back-to-back hallucinations, Ji-hoon takes her to see a doctor. The doctor calmly explains that Soo-jin had a car accident not long ago, though she survived. She lost her memory, and despite her efforts to recover, things only seem to be getting worse. But Soo-jin doesn't buy it. She believes she's having premonitions. The doctor offers a scientific angle. These visions might stem from cortical brain damage, an extremely rare medical phenomenon. Ji-hoon nods in agreement, feeling gaslighted by everyone around her. Soo-jin storms out in frustration. She finds a sliver of comfort in knowing the kids from her vision weren't hurt, but in the blink of an eye, they vanish from the lobby. Ji-hoon, seeing her still trapped in this nightmare, finally loses his temper.
정상 아니야.
Hurt by his words, Soo-jin retreats to the seaside to clear her head, but Ji-hoon doesn't abandon her. He follows, sincerely apologizing for his outburst. Their shared history softens her heart. For a moment, the hospital drama fades away. Then another vision hits her. This time, she sees herself. When she jolts awake, she's back in bed at home. Before she can gather her thoughts, two police officers show up at the door. Turns out the hospital filed a report. The doctor claimed Soo-jin had multiple bruises before the car accident, giving police reason to suspect domestic abuse, but Soo-jin laughs it off. It's absurd. Ji-hoon is the kindest man she knows. He'd never hurt her. Still, the officers remain skeptical. As they walk out, they stop abruptly in the hallway.
바뀐 거 아닌가?
네.
가시죠. 연락드릴게요.
One seemingly simple sentence was all it took to spark a wave of doubt in Soo-jin's mind. Despite her memory loss, something didn't sit right. She felt like she barely knew her own husband. Just as anxiety began to cloud her thoughts, her premonition ability flared up again. She saw a high school student drop an envelope. Acting on instinct, Soo-jin picked it up and handed it back, but the moment their eyes met, a chilling vision struck her. The teen was about to be humiliated. To stop the nightmare from becoming reality, Soo-jin immediately stepped in and warned her to stay alert. She described a man with a scar on his chin who was likely to assault she. Naturally, the student thought she was totally out of her mind. Just then, the girl's father appeared at the door and Soo-jin froze. He was the man from her vision. Now more convinced than ever, she couldn't just walk away and leave the student in danger. She waited outside, keeping watch. Even when she saw the student heading out, she couldn't relax. She decided to follow her from a distance, keeping a low profile, but even with her nerves on high alert, she let her guard down for just a moment and the student vanished without a trace. While panic crept in, a familiar voice called out. It was an old colleague. They hadn't seen each other in ages. And the woman, Hiran, brought Soo-jin back to an art school. Only then did Soo-jin learn she used to work there. Even when shown old photos, she couldn't recall a single memory. Then, at her old desk, she stumbled upon one of Ji-hoon's business cards. Curious to learn more about the man she was married to, Soo-jin followed the address listed and ended up at an architecture firm, but to her surprise, the place looked long abandoned. A security guard confirmed her fears the firm had shut down 6 months ago. A heavy sense of dread sank in. Ji-hoon was clearly hiding something. Before she could gather her thoughts, her phone rang. It was Ji-hoon, but caught in a storm of confusion, Soo-jin didn't answer right away. That hesitation? It sent Ji-hoon's imagination running wild. Staring at the business card left behind by the police, Ji-hoon could sense trouble brewing. That night, when Soo-jin returned home, she found her husband sitting silently in the living room waiting. Ji-hoon wasted no time. He directly asked why she hadn't answered his call earlier. Seeing how blunt he was, Soo-jin dropped the act. She fired back, asking if they were rushing to emigrate because he had gone bankrupt. Ji-hoon quickly denied it, then shot back his own question: how did she find his old office? Soo-jin admitted she'd visited the art academy.
돌아온 거야?
돌아오면 안 되는 거야?
Though he gave her one excuse after another, Soo-jin reluctantly accepted his explanation. Still, an uneasy feeling lingered that night. While Ji-hoon slept, she slipped out to the living room, staring at her paintings. The doubt gnawed her he was hiding something, and what happened next only proved her right. To help Soo-jin recover her memory, Hyran mailed over some of her belongings. Inside one book, Soo-jin found a stack of photos, and what she saw left her stunned. The man smiling beside her in those intimate pictures wasn't Ji-hoon. Determined to get answers, she immediately confronted Hyran. Seeing how desperate Soo-jin was, Hyran finally revealed what she knew. A month before quitting, Soo-jin had told her she was filing for divorce. Her reason? Her husband had become someone else, violent, abusive without cause. Back then, Hyran had suspected a third party was involved. That idea hit Soo-jin like a brick. If Hyran was right, she might have been the one cheating. Just as she tried to process that, something even more terrifying happened. Still in a daze, Soo-jin headed home only to cross paths with the high school girl's father. She overheard him on the phone, full of disdain for his daughter. Then she noticed the wine bottle he was hiding, and when she glanced at his hand, another horrific vision struck.
애한테 손대지 마. 애한테 무슨 일이라도 생기면 내가 당신 신고할 거야.
당신 뭐야? 너 뭐야?
She saw the girl being strangled, and this time, the vision went even further. The man would be killed by a stranger, mid-assault, and stuffed into a suitcase before being dragged out of the building. As the man tightened his grip around her neck, Soo-jin gasped for air. Just then, the elevator doors slid open, summoning every ounce of strength. She broke free and ran. Just then, Ji-hoon arrived at the scene. Back at home, Soo-jin immediately told him that the man from the 7th floor had just tried to kill her and that he himself would soon be dead. Ji-hoon calmly tried to soothe her, urging her to take the medication prescribed by the doctor and assuring her that he would take care of everything, but her anxiety wouldn't let up. Later that night, Soo-jin was overwhelmed by dizziness and confusion. Unable to shake her unease, she quietly made her way to the door of apartment 706. Suddenly, a girl's scream rang out from inside. To confirm she wasn't imagining it, Soo-jin pressed her ear to the door. When she heard the girl cry for help again, she was about to ring the doorbell, but the door suddenly began to open. Panicked, she ducked out of sight, and the scene unfolding was exactly what she'd seen in her vision earlier that day in the elevator. Through the gap in the stairwell door, she noticed the attacker was wearing a distinct necklace. Then came the gut punch. She recognized the necklace. It looked exactly like the one her husband Ji-hoon owned. But the next morning, Ji-hoon was at home, acting as if he'd never left all night. Suspicious, Soo-jin asked him directly.
밤에 어디 갔었어?
가긴 어딜 가. 네 옆에서 자고 있었잖아. 괜찮아?
He appeared calm and sincere, but her doubts only grew stronger, and soon, her worst fears were confirmed. She decided to check her belongings again, hoping for clues, but the security guard told her that around 2 a.m., he'd seen Ji-hoon driving out, and since he was passing by, he gave him the package meant for Soo-jin. He even noticed a suitcase in the back seat. Assuming Ji-hoon was heading on a business trip, that detail hit Soo-jin like a lightning bolt. She rushed home, tore through Ji-hoon's clothes, and found the very necklace she'd seen in her vision. Now she couldn't deny it. Ji-hoon had killed the man in 706. Knowing she was living with a murderer, Soo-jin raced to the police. She recounted everything but without a clear view of the killer's face. The officers couldn't take her claims at face value. She hoped the necklace would serve as evidence only for Ji-hoon to suddenly show up at the police station. Terrified, Soo-jin pointed him out, begging the police for protection. Ji-hoon calmly explained that he'd implanted a GPS tracker in Soo-jin's phone, fearing for her safety due to her memory loss. That's how he knew she was at the station. As for her accusation, he invited the police to investigate apartment 706 immediately to prove whether Soo-jin was imagining things. His reasoning seemed fair, so Soo-jin reluctantly agreed, but what she saw left her speechless. The apartment had been cleaned spotless, without a trace of anyone ever living there. The landlord confirmed 706 had been unsold and unoccupied for years. Humiliated, Soo-jin could only watch as the police closed the case and returned to the station. Even after all the drama, Ji-hoon didn't scold her. Instead, he gently handed her her medicine and promised to help her recover her memory and start a new life abroad. But Soo-jin didn't buy it. She believed every word from Ji-hoon's mouth was a carefully spun lie. This time, she didn't take the pill. She was determined to uncover his secret. Just as she planned her next move, she ran into a man in the elevator, the same man from the photo she'd found, the one with whom she'd once shared intimate moments. Realizing he might hold the answers, Soo-jin tried to approach him only to see him being bullied by a thug. After the thug left, the man finally noticed her, and he did, in fact, recognize her. Before she could even ask her questions, he brought her to his apartment. Inside, he pulled a document from a cabinet and, with sincerity in his eyes, told her he'd made terrible mistakes. He asked for more time to fix things and promised that once he did, he'd cherish her even more. Before she left, he reminded her, "Meet me at the construction plant tonight at 8. But the moment he said it, Soo-jin had a horrifying vision he would be murdered there. She warned him desperately not to go, insisting he wouldn't live to see the next day. But he, of course, didn't believe her. Once the man had fully left, Soo-jin's mind went completely blank. Thankfully, she quickly remembered her goal. By examining the documents, she discovered that the man's name was also Ji-hoon and her own letters were stored there too. When she turned and saw the wedding photo on the wall, the truth hit her like a freight train. The man who had been living beside her all this time wasn't her husband. He was a total imposter. So what was his motive? Why go through so much to stay close to her? To find out, Soo-jin went to the abandoned factory at the location the real Ji-hoon had mentioned, but before she could enter, another vision struck. She saw herself falling to her death from that very building. Afraid the nightmare would come true, she called the police and asked them to come immediately. Cautiously, she stepped into the factory. What she didn't expect was to find the imposter there too, in Ji-hoon, the real one, already dead. Soo-jin held her breath in terror as the imposter dumped the body into a pit, but she accidentally made a noise. The man heard her, panic set in, and she ran. He spotted her and gave chase.
왜 그 사람을 죽인 거야? 왜? 당신 누구야?
Soo-jin shouted question after question, demanding answers. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he begged her to calm down and promised to explain everything if she'd just come downstairs. But Soo-jin was convinced he was the killer. As sirens approached, the man grew desperate, trying to convince her with increasing urgency. Soo-jin backed all the way to the building's edge. Just as she teetered on the brink, the police arrived, tackling her to safety. But what she couldn't understand was this: she saw him dump the body. Yet, now the suitcase was gone, just tools inside. Soo-jin broke down. Still, she clung to what she'd seen and smashed at the wall with a hammer. Desperate to prove it, the man lunged to stop her. To prevent a fight, the police pulled them apart. As the man tried to lead Soo-jin away, a veteran officer stopped him. Though there was no concrete evidence yet, their prior investigation had revealed something. This man's name wasn't Ji-hoon, it was Sun-woo. Given his suspicious behavior, the officers were already wary. One of them grabbed the hammer and continued smashing into the cement wall. Then, the unthinkable happened. They uncovered a corpse inside. Sun-woo was arrested on the spot. With no way left to hide, Sun-woo finally confessed. The body was indeed Soo-jin's real husband, and Sun-woo was her brother. They had co-invested in an architecture firm, but things went south. Facing massive debt and blaming each other, Sun-woo accidentally killed Ji-hoon during a heated argument. Knowing the construction site was about to be demolished, he hid the body inside the wall to avoid detection. When he found out Soo-jin had lost her memory in a car accident, he assumed Ji-hoon's identity. pretending to be her husband. His plan? Stick close to her, claim the insurance payout, and escape to Canada with her. That was the twisted truth. But even after the full confession, Soo-jin felt something still didn't add up. The visions in her mind, the flashes of memory, they told her Sunwoo was still hiding something. She demanded answers, but Sunwoo said nothing more. Then, as Soo-jin stood outside her apartment, everything suddenly clicked. She saw the little girl walking out and instinctively approached her.
너 괜찮아?
수진아!
너 이름도 수진이야?
네, 최수진. 이제 김수진이라니까? 김선우 동생, 김수진.
Their conversation unlocked everything. The little girl was her childhood self. And the teenage girl she'd been trying to protect? Also her. She hadn't been seeing the future, she'd been reliving the past. Those haunting visions from the beginning weren't premonitions, they were memories. And now, everything made sense. Back in high school, Soo-jin's adoptive father once tried to assault her, but her brother, Sunwoo, arrived just in time to stop it. In the struggle, he accidentally killed the man. To cover up the crime and protect Soo-jin, Sunwoo told her to go find their brother Ji-hoon. While he snuck out late at night and buried the body, he then vanished for a while to avoid suspicion. With Ji-hoon's care, Soo-jin eventually married him, but during Sunwoo's absence, Ji-hoon suddenly changed. He became violent, abusive without reason. Unable to take it any longer, Soo-jin filed for divorce and told Sunwoo she planned to emigrate to Canada. Sunwoo never forgot those words. What Soo-jin didn't know was that Ji-hoon had secretly arranged with loan sharks to kill her at the construction site at 8 p.m. The plan? Stage her accidental death and use the insurance payout to clear his debts. But before she arrived, Ji-hoon snapped under the pressure of the loan sharks' insults. In a fit of rage, he murdered one of them and threw the body into the pit, preparing to seal it in concrete. That's when Soo-jin showed up. Ji-hoon tried to explain, begging her not to call the police, but when he spotted a book about Canada in her bag, he realized she was serious about leaving and snapped again, deciding he'd kill her too. At the last second, Soo-jin grabbed a metal rod and struck back, killing Ji-hoon in self-defense. Panicked, she called Sunwoo. With no other choice, Sunwoo helped her hide the body inside the concrete wall. But even though he helped cover it up, Soo-jin was consumed with guilt. She blamed herself for ruining Sunwoo's life. Overwhelmed, she decided to end her own. Fortunately, she survived but suffered brain damage. Her amnesia wasn't caused by the car accident, it was a suicide attempt. And suddenly, everything made sense. The visions she'd had, the ones in the elevator, the memories in the factory, weren't future premonitions. They were memories, deeply buried, now resurfacing. And the night Sunwoo killed their adoptive father? He hadn't buried the body at the factory, it was in the woods. He'd only gone back to the factory to check if the original crime had ever been discovered. Finally piecing together the full truth, Soo-jin visited the home the police identified as her real one. But just as more memories were surfacing, Ji-hoon appeared. He hadn't died that night. After seeing Sunwoo carry Soo-jin away, Ji-hoon decided to wait, biding his time for revenge. Terrified, Soo-jin locked herself in a room and called the police, telling them her supposedly dead husband was trying to kill her. At first, they didn't believe her until they heard chaos through the phone. Soon, the truth was confirmed. DNA results showed the body in the factory wasn't Ji-hoon's. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon was making his move, planning to fake his death again by setting the building on fire. But just as he was escaping via the stairs, Sunwoo arrived to block his path. He'd overheard everything at the police station, and while officers were distracted, he stole a uniform and slipped out to find Soo-jin, getting there faster than anyone else. Sunwoo confronted Ji-hoon, but Ji-hoon stabbed him with a knife and fled. Luckily, the fire triggered an elevator shutdown, and police caught Ji-hoon in the stairwell. He fought, but was easily overpowered and arrested. Meanwhile, wounded Sunwoo charged into the flames, found Soo-jin, and woke her up. But the fire had spread too fast, they were trapped. They could only pray the firefighters arrived in time.
아빠 괜찮아.
오빠 나 이제 다 기억나.
후회도 하지 말고 신아 캐나다로 가.
When Soo-jin finally woke in the hospital, the first thing she asked was, "Where's my brother?" The police gave her the heartbreaking truth: Sunwoo had shielded her with his body. He hadn't survived. As she watched the video he left behind, Soo-jin wept with grief. But in time, she found strength. In the final scene, Soo-jin stands alone in Canada just as she and Sunwoo had planned. Though he's no longer in this world, she can still feel him beside her, every step of the way.